Hi, this is Excelsior the Lion, and I wanted to put on the recording about the wonderful side of our fandom that I have hardly found much like it elsewhere in this world. The world is full of loving, caring people, but it's a mixture. And different groups, different hobbies or whatever, societies and so forth have their different balances of different kinds of behaviors and feelings and so forth. So each is somewhat different, no matter how close they are to being alike. They're still, their makeup and it also varies from group to group and region to region. But what I found has been something that I've learned so much about us furries. And this video is as much to help those who are having difficulties dealing with depression, paranoia, that, gee, nobody's replying to my emails, they must hate my guts. And as I've found, that's not true. There are an enormous number of loving, caring people in our fandom. And part of it is because of the basic rule of a furry is to take the shackles of your life that are holding you in place, that are keeping you from doing things, tying you up, your inhibitions, and all those things, and because you open them up, because you explore them, because you play and have fun, because we have stopped saying, no, you can't. You can't have a plushie, a stuffed animal. I'm pointing towards my bedroom. It's something that I've been denied my entire life. You're not supposed to have such a thing as an adult. And as the result is we're more tense, people in general. But in the furry fandom, we're saying, yes, you can have a plushie. Yes, say for example, ones that creep other furries out is actually still technically accepted by the fandom because it's a part of the rule that the inhibitions have been removed. The baby furs, the My Little Pony enthusiasts and all that strange juxtaposition that sounds creepy and weird and strange. Almost everything about the furry fandom, when somebody maybe encounters it for the first time or hears about it for the first time, thinks, well, this is creepy, this is weird. But we have learned that it isn't creepy. It's actually a good thing. It's imagination. It's pretend. It's in getting in touch with our feelings. And finding out who we are. In exploring the lion side of my personality as a human, in exploring the lion, and exploring the Excelsior character, and on and on and on, I found out so much more about me. And I'm having absolutely the greatest time in my life. Met the most wonderful people, read the most greatest compliments. I mean, an example was, I thought, because it was my perception This was awful. And yet I've heard nothing but, except for one group that's their fun. They had, you know, there are trolls out there. They like to say, oh, that sucks, you know, that's terrible and it's ugly. And they're just being that way because we're still an open society, you know. They can be angry, hateful persons spewing their hatred on other people, and what we need to do is to understand about it so that, you know, that's just the way they are, and it's separate. Because still, I've had so many compliments. We could dwell on the one negative and the not so negative one. One person pointed out that I should have used fur instead of this fleece, as they call it, which it's Davos, is a little different than fleece because the seams are showing and so forth. But this is my first attempt at a fursuit without any money to really actually create it, and I didn't think I could do it either. And I received nothing but the most wonderful comments, and they sound really heartfelt. And they make me feel so wonderful. And all my feeling down from depression problems, all I have to do is look and remind myself of the wonderful things that I now have that I did not before. I did not have Excelsior before a couple of years ago. Before June of last year. I now have something that, as an example, when I'm feeling down, is I take a look at me. At my first suit, and I stroke my hair, and I think about, I did it. I made myself a fursuit when most people probably would have been sure that I could not if they'd known the details. And it's helped to show that if you set your mind to it, you can accomplish great things. Even if the only person that sees how wonderful it is yourself, that's the most important thing. And a lot of the difficulties we have, or we perceive that everybody hates us, or, you know, this thing, that thing, whatever it may be, oftentimes is a misunderstanding. At first, I took all the inquiries for locals, furries, to find a friend, and all those messages that were being ignored, and up to a point, I felt so sure that they hated me because one person said so. There was one person that said so. One person. Out of 800 furries on one email list, potentially thousands of furries in the Bay Area, one person. There are groups out there where 25 to 50% are those kind of, you suck, you're terrible at everything in your life, blah, 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 blah. And we're not talking about organizations that are put together for hatred purposes or anything like that. They're just normal. It just happens to be by the way they are, coincidence or whatever. But it turns out that being a furry, because we release our inhibitions and discover our inner selves, we're more in touch with our feelings, and we're more able to be kinder, gentler, friendlier person. I've had a couple of persons that, as an example of misunderstandings and perspective, that said that this group is snarky. This group is going to be put off. They're going to ignore you. And they're a bunch of trolls. Those sort of statements. as a warning, because I might be upset at the lack of positive response or something, you know, or somebody saying something sort of could be interpreted as negative. And I found out it's not true. Even those that seem to spew hatred because they're a furry, I know they're a good person. Often what we say on the internet is not really the true feelings we have. It's just things being typed, and then it's misunderstood. And in looking through it all, investigating it all, getting behind everything that's been going on, I find the truth, and I found out that I misunderstood. And I've improved my perspective. I've come to understand the fandom and how wonderful it is. That's why I'm so passionate about our culture. I'm so passionate about it because I've encountered wonderful things, incredible things. And I've been going through tremendous changes in my life and continue to do so. Continue to see things better and in a better light. Let's see. I want to remember to be sure to say some things here. Wow. Yeah. Okay. I'm hoping there's enough time on tape. So, the next thing I wanted to say is about a part of what our fursona, our furry character, when made into a fursuit, is. Whether we make it ourselves or we buy it from somebody, it could still happen when you buy it from somebody, because it's still your character. It's you. They may have made it over in Sacramento, but it's you. This is me. And at one point, when I was talking with a friend online, he talked about how his fursuits that he had were, I think he said, like his children. That we gain an emotional attachment to what was in essence just a piece of clothing. This is cloth from a fabric store. And yet, it transforms us. It becomes something. It's symbolic, it's representative. It's wonderful. And say, for example, that for financial reasons or whatever, and some have discussed it online, saying they were going to be forced to sell me. Or I break down in tears. I can't do it. This is me. This is a part of me. This is who I am. And it's wonderful. It's taken something that, despite perception, really is mundane and made it something fantastic. And I looked at the convention videos and I am amazed at the continual stream of unique, beautiful, fantastic, inventive, creative, imaginary designs. Absolutely the most fantastic imaginations. Because we said it's okay to do something that some people label as childish. Which is a dumb thing to say. It is probably one of the dumbest things that could be said is, oh, that's childish. It's something that's hard to define in the first place, and they're just saying, I don't like what you're doing. So I want to insult you. But what that person actually does, once we learn as furries that it is okay and explore it, we find out something wonderful. And we find out about ourselves, and we feel so many thousands of times better. I felt like crap in the early part of last year. Absolute crap. As I've been for a very long time. And so part of why I get so emotional is because, as my therapist put it, I feel loved for the first time in my life. Truly loved. And I thank you, furries, for that. I thank you. We're seeing a side of the human population that is not seen very often, but it is there with everybody in the world. We all have such great potential, and in furries we see it. It comes to the surface. It is shown to the world in playing with a big ball, throwing it like kids, or patty cake, or anything. We're saying, you know, be yourself, enjoy, have a great time. We love you, you love me, on and on and on. It's wonderful. So remind yourself when you're not feeling well. What a wonderful thing we have. It may seem like something's bad. It's a perception. And it could be very, very wrong. Even if it is somewhat true, you help yourself by changing your mindset to say, maybe it's true. I don't care. You know, take an insult and turn it into a compliment. Did that person that said I should have used fur instead of this police? It sounded like it was a complaint, but they did not say, what an awful design. It did not say, it's an ugly thing. They did not say, it should not be shown in public. They did not say anything negative. They just said, and this is true of most of the so-called complaints, they just simply said that you should use fur instead of fleece so that the seams would not show up. That was it. And that's an example. Now, they were actually not complaining, but unfortunately it hit me like I was. And so I turned it around. You turn it around, you look at the complaint and look on what they're not talking about and realize they're actually complimenting you in their own way too. And it's wonderful. I've never had a chance to explore this before in my life. The people, the feelings, the emotions, love, the furry concept itself, the anthropomorphic art. I didn't know I would have loved it so much, and how much I loved the concept since I was very young. And it's fantastic. So, this is a little overly emotional Excelsior who's justified in his being so emotional because it's so wonderful to be a furry. You have a furry day. And have a wonderful furry day. Maybe that's a good tagline.